NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has hardly opened its eyes, and the universe is new. More mysterious, more beautiful than humanity's dreams.
It began as a faint flicker, just a strange, cold glint captured by telescopes in Hawaii and South Africa. At first, it was another blip in the endless sky, barely a headline. But as the world's sharpest eyes turned toward it, the truth emerged. This wasn't a comet or asteroid, but something faster, brighter, and stranger than anything we'd charted. The James Webb Space Telescope locked on, and for the first time, we weren't just wondering if we were alone. What if something out there is watching us back? The flicker no one expected. Have you ever thought about how many secrets the universe keeps from us, simply because we are not paying attention? Late one night in June, the Atlas system in Hawaii, a network built to watch for asteroids that could threaten Earth, detected something strange. The object was cold, silent, and moving at speeds rarely seen, over 150,000 miles per hour. Within hours, observatories in South Africa, Australia, and the Canary Islands caught the same signal. NASA's Minor Planet Center issued a rare, rapid alert. The entire planetary defense community was suddenly awake. At first, astronomers did what they always do: they checked for data errors. Was it a glitch, a reflection, a cosmic ray? When the data held up, they started running simulations. The object's orbit didn't match anything local. It wasn't bound to the Sun. It wasn't circling quietly between Mars and Jupiter or meandering in from the Oort cloud. When its path was traced backward, it pointed not to our solar system, but out toward interstellar space. Possibly from the direction of the galactic core. This was a traveler, a wanderer, an uninvited guest from somewhere beyond our cosmic backyard. The media barely noticed at first, but scientists felt a jolt of fear. What were the odds? Before 2017, humanity had never seen an interstellar object cross into our system. Suddenly, this was the third. Each one, from Oumuamua to Borisov, had been stranger than the last. This new visitor, quickly christened 3I Atlas, was setting new records, for speed, for trajectory, for sheer inexplicable behavior. Within 12 hours, the James Webb Space Telescope, our most advanced eye in the cosmos, was diverted from its deep time mission to focus on something much closer and, for the first time, potentially much more dangerous. Something in the data had everyone on edge. Was this a cosmic fluke, or the first sign that the universe wasn't just full of rocks and ice, but in tension? As data poured in and alarms echoed across observatories, a sense of unease spread. Was this just another chapter in the story of our restless galaxy, or the prologue to a tale humanity was never supposed to read? Unnatural patterns and impossible light. Why did 3I Atlas immediately send shivers through the scientific world? Because its behavior didn't fit any of the neat little boxes astronomers rely on. For decades, the rules had seemed clear. Asteroids tumble in chaotic spins, comets leave ghostly tails, and only planets reflect sunlight in predictable patterns. But 3I Atlas? Its brightness didn't match its size. According to calculations, the object should have been massive, but it was surprisingly compact. The light it reflected was too clean, too metallic, almost like the polished surface of a spacecraft. The closer it came, the stranger things got. James Webb's instruments picked up a cold, hollow signature. One side of the object seemed to absorb more heat than the other, a characteristic seen in engineered materials, not random space debris. Spectroscopy revealed absorption lines that matched not rock or ice, but advanced carbon structures. If you built a shell to survive thousands of years in deep space, this is the material you would choose. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, already famous for suggesting that Oumuamua might have been artificial, saw the same red flags. He urged the community to watch for non-gravitational acceleration, tiny deviations in the object's motion that could not be explained by the sun's pull or the pressure of light. If Atlas showed such deviations, it wouldn't be drifting. It would be navigating. In other words, someone or something might be steering. What's more, the surface of 3I Atlas was symmetrical. It spun with a precision that made physicists nervous. Comets wobble. Asteroids tumble. This visitor turned smoothly, with purpose. Was it signaling? Was it charging up energy from the sun, like a solar sail? The scientific community divided into camps. Some clung to natural explanations, desperate not to upend centuries of cosmic order. Others, emboldened by Webb's strange data, whispered of a messenger. And as 3I Atlas inched closer to the sun, those whispers grew louder. Was this the moment we'd been warned about in science fiction for generations? Or just the universe, once again, refusing to play by our rules? A lineage of cosmic strangers. If Atlas had arrived a decade ago, it would have been dismissed as a mathematical outlier, a one-in-a-million shot. But the world had already been prepared for weirdness. In 2017, the world watched Oumuamua sail through the solar system. Its shape was like a cosmic cigar, its motion inexplicably smooth, its acceleration after passing the sun unexplainable by gas or dust. Then came Borisov in 2019, a true comet from the deep, blazing with more energy than anything we had seen. The odds of seeing 3 interstellar objects in under 10 years were staggeringly low. Was it just random chance, or a sign that something fundamental had changed? Astronomers began to see a pattern. Oumuamua had no tail but sped up mysteriously after its closest solar approach. Borisov was a hyperactive comet, almost reckless in its energy. Atlas combined the strangest properties of both, a dazzling brightness, a perfect trajectory, and now signs of internal complexity. Some began to wonder, could these objects be related? Were they fragments of an ancient message, a cosmic relay, or even autonomous probes sent on a schedule only their makers understood? The possibility was both exhilarating and terrifying. AVI Lub took things further, suggesting that humanity might be observing the echoes of a long-ago contact. What if Oumuamua, Borisov, and Atlas were not random, but a deliberate sequence? A slow, deliberate wave disguised as cosmic chance? If so, the only variable that had changed was us, our ability to notice, to record, and to wonder. For centuries, our skies had been empty. Now they were full, and perhaps always had been. Was it possible that, for all of human history, we had simply been too blind to see what was passing us by? The question no one wants to ask. With every new observation, the natural explanations grew thinner. Scientists worked around the clock, poring over light curves, spectra, and orbital models. What they saw forced them to confront a question nobody wanted to ask out loud. What if this wasn't natural? Not aliens in the sense of little green men, but something more subtle and more disturbing. Probes, artificial messengers sent long ago from worlds far older and more advanced than ours. Lub's team pushed for more data, urging NASA to look for further signs of engineering, regular spin, heat absorption, hollow cavities, patterns in the light curve. The James Webb telescope delivered more surprises. Instead of rocky debris, its sensors found surfaces with absorption lines more often seen in advanced carbon composites. One hemisphere seemed to be coated with something almost like a heat shield. When the spectral data was released, a handful of engineers and material scientists around the world had the same reaction. If you wanted to build a messenger that could survive deep space, you would use exactly these materials. This realization spread quietly through the halls of power. National defense agencies began asking new questions. What if this was a probe? What if it was signaling home? If it was, who or what might be waiting for our response? Suddenly, the stakes had shifted. Science fiction had become national security. And nobody knew what the rules were anymore. Was this the universe's way of nudging us toward a greater truth? Or the first step in a story humanity wasn't prepared to finish? The silence falls. At first, governments and space agencies were almost boastful about the discovery. NASA, the ESA, and even India's ISRO pushed out data, live streams, and raw telescope feeds. But as the strangeness piled up, the flow of information slowed, then stopped. Pages that once hosted live mission logs vanished. Observation windows closed without warning.